The camper who saw something he shouldn't have. First story *, I've never been a big fan of camping. The bugs, the dirt, the sleepless nights, not really my idea of fun. But my dad? He's one of those real outdoorsman types. Every summer, like clockwork, he'd drag me out into the woods to reconnect with nature. By the time I hit high school, I'd had enough. So that year, I made a deal with him. I could come along if I got to bring a friend. To my surprise, he said yes. I invited my buddy Charlie, who used to be a hardcore Boy Scout. I figured, if I'm going to be miserable, I might as well have someone who knows how to build a fire and set up a tent. He was excited, honestly too excited, but at least I wasn't going alone. When we arrived, though, things already felt off. One of my dad's friends had messed up the campsite booking. Instead of a peaceful, remote spot in the forest, we ended up at this overdeveloped campground, paved trails, streetlights, even a small playground. It barely felt like camping at all. But the strangest thing was what sat right next door. An abandoned amusement park. Rusty rides, silent roller coasters, a Ferris wheel that looked frozen mid-spin. It was eerie, like nature and nostalgia had collided and both lost. That night, after everyone went to sleep, Charlie and I were still wide awake. He looked at me with that mischievous grin and said, "Wanna check out the roller coaster?" And against every bit of better judgment I had, I said yes. We grabbed our flashlights and snuck out. The fence wasn't hard to climb, a quick boost and we were in. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. No sounds but the metal groaning in the wind. We reached the roller coaster and started climbing the maintenance stairs, step by step. By the time we reached the top, the view was incredible. The entire park stretched beneath us, glowing faintly under the moonlight. We took one quick photo, and that's when I noticed movement below. At first, I thought it was a guard making rounds. But no, the shape moved differently, slow, uneven, like it was limping. Then the figure stepped under a flickering street lamp. It was a man. His clothes were torn, and his face was smeared with something dark, something that looked a lot like blood. Charlie saw it too. We froze. Neither of us said a word. The man stopped, then turned his head directly toward us. Even from that distance, I could feel his eyes lock onto mine. We bolted down the stairs, sprinted through the empty park, and climbed back over the fence without a word. That night, neither of us slept. We just lay there, listening to the forest, waiting for something or someone to show up. The next morning, park rangers came through the camp announcing an emergency. A man had been stabbed and killed near the lake a few miles away. The suspect? A shirtless man, bleeding, seen wandering near the old amusement park. Charlie and I didn't say a word. We just exchanged a look, and we both knew what we'd seen. Even now, years later, that one night still keeps me awake sometimes. Because I can't stop thinking, what if that man had looked up just a few seconds sooner? Story 2: The Subway Clown. This happened a few years ago, during that strange time when creepy clowns were all over the internet. People were posting sightings everywhere, parking lots, woods, even outside schools. At first, it felt like a joke, until it wasn't. I was 16 back then, a high school junior, just trying to get through another normal weekday. After my last class, I said bye to my friends, threw on my headphones, and hopped on the subway like I always did. The train car was emptier than usual, maybe a dozen people scattered around, but I didn't think much of it. I had my music blasting, scrolling through my phone, reviewing flashcards for a chemistry test I didn't want to take. You know that routine where everything feels automatic? That was me. When the train reached 96th Street, I stood up without looking up, just muscle memory guiding me toward the doors. But right as they opened, something made me freeze. Someone was standing in the doorway, not blocking it, filling it. At first, my brain couldn't even process what I was seeing. A tall figure, wearing a clown costume. Baggy yellow shirt, huge red suspenders, oversized shoes, and that white, cracked makeup stretched across his face. Bright red nose, smudged blue eyebrows, no wig, just pale, greasy hair slicked back like he'd been sweating. He didn't move. He didn't say a word. He just stood there, staring at me for a few seconds. The world felt like it had stopped. The air between us was dead quiet, except for my music, still blasting in my ears. Then it hit me. I was the only one standing. Everyone else was seated far away, pretending not to notice. I took one step forward. The clown tilted his head slightly, like a puppet on strings. I reached out, trying to brush past him, but as soon as I did, he leaned forward, fast, putting his face inches from mine. His eyes weren't playful or funny. They were cold. And then he smiled. A slow, crooked grin that didn't reach his eyes. Something inside me snapped. I shoved past him and ran full sprint down the platform. That's when I heard it, the sound of heavy shoes slamming against concrete. He was chasing me. I turned back just once, and I'll never forget the sight. That clown, running full speed, but jerky, uncoordinated, like his limbs weren't working right. And in his hand was a knife. I didn't stop to think. Didn't look back again. I just ran up the stairs, past the turnstiles, and straight onto the street. When I finally reached the surface, my heart was pounding so loud I could barely breathe. I flagged down a nearby officer and told him what happened. The clown, the knife, everything. He called it in immediately, and another officer headed down to check the platform. But by the time they searched the station, he was gone. No clown, no knife, no trace. For days I couldn't stop thinking about that moment, that look in his eyes, the way he smiled. Even when the police told me it was probably a prank, I knew what I saw. That wasn't someone playing around. That was someone who wanted to hurt me. For weeks, I couldn't ride the train without feeling eyes on me. Every time the doors opened, I half expected to see that same face, that same painted grin waiting in the doorway. And the worst part? A few days later, I saw a post online. A different station. Different time. Same city. Someone had spotted a clown with a knife walking down the subway platform, just a few miles from where it happened to me. After that, I started walking home. Every day. Even if it took me an hour. Because once you've seen evil up close, you realize something. You don't have to believe in monsters for them to find you. Story 3: The Pool That Never Closed. This story isn't about ghosts or monsters, but sometimes the real horror comes from people hiding in plain sight. It happened a few years after I graduated college. I was broke, juggling odd jobs, doing deliveries and temp work, anything that paid the bills. One night, scrolling through Indeed, I saw a job that looked too good to be true. Private lifeguard position, $30 an hour. At a hotel pool. But there was something strange about it. The hours were completely backward. 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. Who runs a pool in the middle of the night? And then there was the final line in bold text. Applicants who speak Spanish will not be considered. Weird, right? Especially since I grew up bilingual. But $30 an hour is $30 an hour. So I applied anyway and just didn't mention it. A day later, they called. No interview questions. No background check. Just, can you start tomorrow? The hotel was nothing special, mid-range, a little run-down. The first guy who met me, Esteban, seemed nice enough. Joking, friendly, offered me water. Then, out of nowhere, a taller man in a white shirt walked up. His name was Jefe, the manager apparently. He didn't greet me. Didn't shake my hand. Just started speaking rapid Spanish right to my face. I understood every word, but pretended I didn't. When I just stared at him, blank-faced. The two men laughed like it was a private joke. That was the first red. Flag.jefe told me the hotel was expanding pool access, allowing outsiders to use it for a fee. My job was simple: collect cash, keep the pool clean, and call him if there was ever a problem. He pointed at a locked door behind my chair. "If someone shows a blue wristband," he said, "you let them in there, that door." They called it the pool house. The first week was quiet. A few families, a few late-night swimmers. Then one evening, a guy in sunglasses walked up, flashed a blue wristband, and waited. I opened the door. He went inside for an hour, came out with a heavy backpack, and left without a word. From that night on, more people started showing up. Men, women, different ages, all with the same wristbands. They'd vanish into the pool house, stay a while, and leave looking relieved. Some of them even tipped me. I knew something was wrong. But the money was good. Too good. Every night, people overpaid me. Sometimes double. When I told Hefe, he just said, "People make mistakes. Don't worry about it." And hung up. That's when it hit me. I wasn't guarding a pool. I was guarding a front. Money laundering. Drug trade. Something way beyond me. Then one night, something changed. A kid started drowning. I jumped in without thinking, pulled him out, and gave him CPR. He lived, and I became a hero. The next day, Hefe himself came down, shook my hand, and told me the kid was his son. He thanked me, poured me a glass of wine, and introduced me to the real staff. Every single one of them had that same blue wristband. We toasted. Everyone laughed. And then one man made a speech in Spanish. He said something that froze me to my core. "To all the money we've made, and all the lives we've destroyed." They all raised their glasses. I just stared, pretending I didn't understand. A few days later, my mom called. She only spoke Spanish, so I answered in Spanish like always. When I hung up, Esteban was standing right behind me. He looked furious. He asked how long I'd known Spanish. My mouth went dry. I lied, said I was learning from a friend. He didn't believe me. He just stared. Too long. Then said quietly, "Come in early tomorrow. We have a new opportunity for you." That night I didn't sleep. Every sound outside my window felt like someone watching. Every car that slowed near my house made my heart race. The next morning, I didn't go back. I left town. Deleted the number. Changed mine. For months, I couldn't shake the fear that they'd find me. That one day, I'd see Esteban again, standing at the edge of my street, smiling like nothing had happened, even now. Years later, I still dream about that pool, about the locked door, about the sound of it clicking shut behind those wristbanded men. Sometimes I wonder what was really going on inside. But part of me hopes I never find out. If you've made it this far, remember, the scariest stories aren't the ones that live in the dark. They're the ones that really happened. 3 tailies, 3 glimpses into the kind of horror that doesn't need monsters. Just people making the wrong choices at the wrong time. If you want more chilling stories like these, make sure to subscribe and join our growing community of night listeners. You're watching Untold Scary Truths, where the shadows speak and every story hides a secret.